Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Sunday Night Live with me, Jonny Lipsham, here at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk, here in the southeast corner of Scotland, the capital of everything. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a wee while. We had a wee bit of a break from Sunday Night Live for a week or two, but I'm very glad to be back. I hope everybody had a fantastic Easter. And I hope everybody has had a really great week. So far, I had my anniversary and then Easter kind of back to back, which doesn't happen every year, but it did this year. So it was nice to actually have like a couple of Sundays of not doing the show. As much as I love doing this show, by the way, I love staying up until midnight to talk to you guys and to answer your Studio One questions. I love doing it, but it was nice to have a couple of Sundays off where I wasn't doing that. So it was nice. It was a nice little break away from all of that. And I actually got out of the house and went to my parents for after Easter. So we had like, no, it was actually over Easter. So we had our anniversary and we kind of stayed at home for that. But then we went to my parents' place just a wee bit further north from where we are on the other side of the Firth of Forth. And we spent Easter weekend there because it's my mother's birthday on that weekend. And it was also their 38th wedding anniversary as well. So we celebrated all of that all in one go, as well as our own wedding anniversary. Because we got married kind of like the week before their anniversary. So we have our anniversary, then they have theirs the week later, the week after. So in 2 years' time, it'll be really interesting because in 2 years' time, it will be our 20th and their 40th. So we will be doing something much bigger for that. We'll probably be going up into the Highlands. Certainly that's our current thinking. We'll be going up into our ancestral homeland, up in the Highlands, and we'll probably spend a few days away together as a family celebrating there. However, you know, kind of springtime in the Highlands, not necessarily always the best weather. It can be a little bit cold, a little bit windy, a little bit wet, so it might be it might end up being kind of a bit of an indoorsy kind of time, but we'll see what happens. So anyway, let's go see who was first in the door, and I'm gonna give you only one guess as to who was first in the door, and you would be correct if your guess is Billy Morgan, because it was Billy Morgan, followed maybe about 30 minutes later by Tony Stringer. So hello to you, and also to Christina, who is also here over in Denmark. And we got Boris Dancy here as well. We got Daryl Harrison. We got Cal Traduziak. We got Just Bob, who is here as well. And he is on the road. He says he's got 20 miles to go on his last 400-mile round trip weekends fixing up my mum's house. 4 weekends in total. Wow. Next visit, fun only. Well, there you go. Fun is definitely something that must be had. And I have to admit, I admire anybody that has any DIY skills whatsoever, because I have none. None at all. For example, we have a shower in our bedroom. It's an ensuite shower. So there's like our bedroom, and then there's a doorway straight into a wee bathroom that's got a shower in there. And the shower doesn't work anymore. Basically, you turn it off and the water keeps coming. So there is a valve that isn't closing off, and I have no idea what to do. So we need to get a plumber to fix that. But I do know people that, you know, anything that goes wrong in their house, they fix it themselves because they have those kind of skills. I don't. I just don't have those skills, and it's not something that remotely interests me. So anybody that has those skills, you have my total admiration. Who else do we have? We got Don Oliver here as well. We got Garden99. We got Edgar Price. Welcome back, Edgar. Good to see you, my friend. And we got Bobby Bid. We got Low Ends here as well. And we got Lloyd over at Paparapta Music. We got Ron, the key man, is here, which is awesome. And that, I think, concludes the register. Class may now begin. I'm kidding. So anyways, I hope everybody is doing well and has had a good week so far. I have to say, Wednesday's show, if you missed Wednesday's Songwriting Simplified show, it was a really great show. And there were some awesome questions, and it was a load of fun, actually. It was great. So if you missed it, then I highly recommend, please go and catch the replay. Because it was awesome. It was a really great show. All right, so for those of you that don't know, where have you been? I'm kidding. Basically what this show is, this is all about Studio One, which is the DAW that we all love. And I certainly love a lot. I've been using it for, 13 years, nearly 14 years now. And I started doing this show long before I became a Presonus employee, so long before I started working for the company that make it. So this show predates that, but it's still an absolutely awesome piece of software, and that's what we talk about on this show. So if you are not yet a Studio One user, but you are interested in getting started with Studio One, this is the place to be. Because you can ask all sorts of questions about, how much does it cost? All those kind of stuff. We will happily answer those questions. Either myself will answer those questions, or the lovely folk in the chat, including my wrench guys. That's my moderators. They will also help you as well, because they are the best in the business. So if you've got any questions about Studio One and using Studio One, then please do get your questions in. Now, we do have an email question that came from Bob, just Bob. And we're going to open the show with his question because it's actually a really good one. And so if you are a guitar player and you are a Fender kind of person and you like Fender guitars, Fender, who is the parent company of Presonus, they have an awesome device, which I've got one down there. You might not be able to see it. It's a little out of shot. It's called the Tonemaster Pro, and it's great. It's a little guitar processing unit. It basically has amp simulators and stomp box simulators and all sorts of other stuff inside it. And it does a whole bunch of amazing things. I have one. I really have hardly scratched the surface because I'm not really a guitar player. I'm a bass player. And currently it only has one bass amp. I am hoping that there will be updates that will provide some more bass amps and some more bass amp kind of presets and configurations. That would be great because, I do have a guitar. I have an Ibanez guitar. Sadly, it's not a Fender. Fender, if you're watching, please send me one. But I do have two Fender basses. I have a fretless jazz bass, and I have a fretted Squier. It is actually a Squier. I'd actually completely forgotten that it was a Squier. So there have been several times where I've mentioned it being a Fender jazz bass. It's a Squier. Obviously, Squier is made by Fender, but it's a Squier jazz bass. But it's one of those precision jazz basses. It's got the precision pickups and a jazz pickup as well. But I never use the precision pickups. Mostly because I'm not a big fan of the precision sound. I know that there's a lot of great records made with precision basses, and there are great precision bass players. Michael League is probably my favorite precision bass player. I'm just not a fan of the sound. I just don't like it. I much prefer the jazz bass sound. So anyway, so I do have Fender basses. And so I do have the Tonemaster Pro, but like I said, it doesn't really have a lot for bass players as yet. However, the use I do have for the Tonemaster Pro, not that this is a Tonemaster Pro show, is I do, and I have recorded using my flugelhorn and also my saxophone, running it through the Toolmaster Pro and through some of the stomp boxes and into Studio One to get some interesting effects, like some distortion and things like that, and a bit of pitch shifting and things like that. So those are the kind of things that I've used it for. So I really haven't used it in a particularly traditional sense. However, let's get to Bob's question, because it is good, and I may or may not be able to answer it. So, he says, when using guitar effects processors like the Fender Toolmaster Pro, how do you connect with Studio One? And he gives some details. Says, you have the ability to download and use software on the computer to control the unit when plugged into the computer. Set up pathways with virtual foot chains, amps, and sims, and heads, and amp combos, and that kind of thing. Says, I understand when plugged into your computer, it can be run as or with a DAW. Not sure which applies. How does Studio One recognize the software? And are you limited to using the processor itself with its onboard setup? Or can you still use the computer side of software? This also applies to any multiprocessors that offer direct to DAW and other computer software. Okay, so I think the question is, broadly speaking, can you connect the Toolmaster Pro to Studio One? And the answer is you can. However, there are some things to be aware of here. So, let's see. There is a little template in the new song dialog box, which I'm going to show you. If you just give me 1 second, I'm going to go over to the screen here, and I'm going to put my little camera on in the corner. So if you go into new song and you click on this templates thing here, it usually defaults to this user template, and I have a bunch of user templates that I use here. But in this case, I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to scroll all the way down here, and I'm going to click on this guy here. Now, what you'll notice is there is the Presonus one here, and there's interface templates. So I have the Quantum HD 8. I can select that. But if you click on the Fender one here, you will see the Toolmaster Pro appears. So what does this mean? This means the Toolmaster Pro can be used as an audio interface directly, like any other audio interface, like an audio box, like a Quantum HD, like whatever you need it to be. And so you can run your guitars, your bass, your flugelhorn, your saxophone, your vocals straight into the Toolmaster Pro and use the Toolmaster Pro as a recording interface. So yes, you can do that. Now, it does have some MIDI capability. It's not going to be as good as a regular interface for MIDI usage. The reason being, in that respect, it's not really a interface. It's not really a classic audio interface in that respect. So the MIDI aspect of the Toolmaster Pro is not the main game. So don't expect it to do MIDI and MIDI processing in the same way as something like the Quantum HD 8 would. Okay? Because two totally different interfaces that have completely different design parameters and raison d'etre, to use a French phrase. All right? So essentially, the answer to the question is you can select this as a recording interface. You have Presonus, you have Fender. Nice little Fender logo there as well. And then if you have like a Mustang or something like that, one of those Mustang interfaces, you might find that this appears in your interface template as well. And you'll find that the audio I/O is already set up for the Toolmaster Pro when you select this. I don't have it connected to my computer, so I'm going to cancel that because I don't want to do that. So, I hope that answers that question. You know, it's a good question. It is definitely a good question, and I'm trying to get back over to the stream. Here we go. So, I'm back. But yes, so the answer fundamentally is yes, you can use the Toolmaster Pro as an audio interface in Studio One, and there is a specially designed template for doing it. And I would say make use of it. if you have one. I have one. I don't really make use of it quite as much as I could at the moment, although I do have some plans to do some stuff with the Toastmaster Pro and integrating with Studio One. I have some plans to make some content on that, even though I'm not a guitar player. Well, like I said, I have a guitar, and I do play it, but I'm not really the best kind of guitar player. Okay, let me explain my guitar prowess. I can play weird, crazy, strange-sounding Alan Holdsworth-style jazz chords. I can do those. I just can't play a regular D, G, A, and E. I don't know how to do those. But I can play weird jazz chords. No problem. Maybe that's because I'm a jazz piano player, and so those are the kind of sounds that I hear in my head, and then I just work out the voicings on the guitar. That's probably how that works for me. And also, I can't strum. I have a plectrum. I have a plectrum right here. All right, this is my little plectrum, made by tonedeafmusic.co.uk. I can't remember who they are, but but I got given this by them at some point. tonedeafmusic.co.uk. Go check out that website and tell me what you think of it. It was years ago, so that website may not even exist. So feel free to find it if you can. Anyway, they gave me that little plectrum. And I'll be honest, when I try and strum, the plectrum just goes whee! And I never see it again. And then I do some hoovering and I find that I've hoovered up a bunch of plectrums. Or picks, whatever you want to call them. So no, I play fingerstyle. Basically because I can't strum. So yeah, so that's my guitar prowess, basically. But the Toastmaster Pro is a freaking awesome device. And yeah, it is $1,500 on Sweetwater at the moment. You might be able to get it a wee bit cheaper at Fender directly, fender.com. Just Bob says, would that just be a USB plug and plug in and play? Studio One finds it that way, or do you go through the Quantum H? No, like I just showed you, it's selectable as an interface. So you can connect it via USB directly to your computer like any other interface, plug your guitar in, and select that template, and select the Toastmaster Pro template, and away you go. You don't need to run the Toastmaster Pro into an interface for it to work. Now, you can do that if you prefer. For example, if you want to use that just as a multi-effects processing unit and run the audio cables out and into inputs on your HD8, you can do that. I have done that in actual fact. That's how I recorded some stuff with my flugelhorn, running through the running through the Toastmaster Pro. That's exactly what I did. I just ran a pair of output cables from the outputs of the Toastmaster Pro into inputs on the Quantum HD. Done. But I'm not using it as an interface in that respect. But what I'm saying is you can. It has a USB port on the back. You connect the USB to your computer with a USB cable just like you would any other audio interface. Then when you create a new song, you use that Toastmaster Pro template and all the audio I/O is already set up for you. You are good to go. And you can start recording immediately with the Toastmaster Pro as your interface. Okay, so it doesn't need to go into another interface. Okay? Yeah, sure, Bob. Yeah, you're on your phone. I understand that because you're on the road. That's fine. So what I recommend, Bob, is I recommend when you get home, watch the replay of this and zoom forward to where I answer your question and where I show that on screen, so you can basically just see how that looks on a much bigger screen, and then you can see the little dialog box. But it is essentially just a case of new song, click on the templates button, go down to the audio interfaces template, click on that, and then you'll see that there are two options. There's PreSonus and Fender. Click on Fender. And if your Toastmaster Pro is connected via USB to your computer, you can select that Bernard's your auntie, Bob's your uncle, and Jeff is your illegitimate child. And off you go. You're able to make music immediately. Good question. Thank you, Bob, for that. Gardner99 says, does anyone have problems running Studio One with Windows 11? That's a good question. Anybody that is using Studio One on Windows 11, please feel free to chime in and give Gardner a hand. Give him some extra confidence. I'm still on Windows 10. I will be going up to Windows 11 in the foreseeable future. When? I'm not sure. But certainly before the October deadline, when basically support for Windows 10 goes away, I will go up to Windows 11. My computer does support it, so I should be fine. All I need to do is just download and install it. I'm not going to do the fresh install that everybody recommends, which is where you basically essentially wipe the... Well, you don't really wipe the computer completely. But you certainly do, eliminate all of your applications and you have to reinstall everything again because you're basically doing a fresh Windows install. A lot of people recommend doing that. I frankly don't have the time to do that because this computer is used for work and I need to be up and running as fast as possible and I don't need to be faffing around installing everything all over again. So I won't be doing that. I will be using the Windows Update method, where you use Windows Update and you basically do the upgrade to Windows 11 as if it's just doing an update like it normally does. And apparently using that method works pretty well. So I've been told, and it keeps all of your applications, keeps all of your passwords and all of that stuff. And all of that stuff is really important to me to make sure that I can just be up and running in a couple of hours rather than, however long trying to reinstall Studio One, reinstall my browsers, reinstall OBS, reinstall everything else, reinstall Universal Control, reinstall my plugins, and then have to reconfigure OBS from scratch so that I can do this show. Doesn't make any sense to me to do all of that, so I'm not going to. I am going to do the Windows Update method so that everything is basically just there. I may have to reconfigure things like OBS because I have heard that it basically nulls out your settings. Fortunately, that takes about 15 seconds to do, but everything else should just be there from what I've heard. Edgar says, I'm building myself a new PC for music production. Are there any benefits in Studio One to be had from the high-end graphics card? Yes and no. In the no category, Studio One really doesn't require a ton of graphics because nothing is really moving or in high motion like a computer game would be. For example, or if you're doing video editing. If you're doing video editing or if you're doing computer-aided design or you're gaming, so you require a lot of things to be refreshed and redrawn, all the time in real time, like, modern computer games are, like Grand Theft Auto, for example, and Call of Duty and games like that. They require graphic refreshes all the time and graphics to be redrawn all the time. Studio One doesn't require that amount of redraws nearly as much. So you don't necessarily need an incredibly high-powered graphics card. However, if you are doing what I'm doing, which is streaming, a higher-end graphics card that has its own processor and its own RAM will definitely be of benefit, because what that will do is that will take all the processing power required for doing something like this, like streaming, like making a tutorial video, away from your CPU and your regular RAM, and it will do it all on the graphics card instead, which means your computer and your RAM sticks themselves don't have to work nearly so hard. So that would allow you to make videos at a higher resolution than 1080p. You might be able to go up to 2K, or you might even be able to go up to 4K for resolution. Whereas if you're using the onboard integrated graphics card like I am, I can only really work at 1080p. Now, this computer doesn't really break a sweat because it's a decent computer. I've got 16 gigs of RAM, plus the CPU is pretty darn fast. The speed of of each of the cores is like 4.5 gigahertz. And there's 16 cores altogether. And there's hyper-threading going on as well. So for what I'm doing here, doing this stream, it is using a little bit more CPU. And certainly if I had a separate graphics card, my computer would be working less hard. But it doesn't actually matter too terribly much because it's not really breaking a sweat that much. And I don't really get like lots of dropouts and stuff. Jonny Gibe is in the house, which is awesome. Hello, my friend. Very, very, very good to see you, my friend. So Edgar, I hope that answers that question. That is a good one. Let's see. And Rich Cresswell is here too, which is awesome. Lloyd says, I've been on Windows 11 since shortly after it was released. Use Studio One 5, 6, and 7. No issues at all. Thank you very much for that, Lloyd. And Lloyd really does actually know what he's talking about as well. So if he's gonna provide you with good information, you can trust it. It will be good information. Does it go through Universal Control? I suspect you're talking about the ToneMaster Pro. No, it doesn't. Only PreSonus interfaces use Universal Control. So ToneMaster Pro has its own device driver. So if you're using the ToneMaster Pro as an audio interface, it has its own bespoke device driver. It does not use Universal Control because Universal Control is only for PreSonus interfaces. That is a question, by the way, I see quite a lot. I see a lot of people, and they talk about using an Apollo interface or a Focusrite interface, and they seem to think that they have to download Universal Control, or they get advised by other people, hey, you need to download Universal Control. No, you don't. It's not going to do a thing. Using Universal Control when you have a third-party interface is not going to do a thing because Universal Control is strictly for PreSonus interfaces. That's what it's designed for. It's designed for PreSonus hardware products. The idea behind Universal Control was to have one application that would control all PreSonus hardware devices in the PreSonus ecosystem. Okay, so that means interfaces. That means mixers, like the Studio Live Series 3 mixers, for example. Anything that is in the PreSonus ecosystem, including the switch for AVB and Dante and stuff like that. I nearly said another word other than stuff, and I stopped myself. This is good news. Although I am Scottish, so maybe I should have just said it. But yeah, any hardware device that is in the PreSonus ecosystem uses Universal Control. So third-party devices like Focusrite interfaces, like Apollo interfaces, or any other, you care to name it, third-party interface, not going to work with Universal Control. So actually what those people need to do, if you are using a Universal Audio Apollo interface, you need to download the driver for that interface from Universal Audio. Same with the Focusrite device. Get the latest Focusrite drivers for that device, and so on and so forth. Keith from Radio Top Trumpet says, drink, he used the word bespoke. And I said the word bespoke again. So, Keith, if you are playing that particular drinking game, you have to make it... I think you understand. You have to take another drink. and I have not been drinking. Not at all. I thought we were going to have a nice bottle of red wine to go with our dinner tonight, but we kind of decided not to. We put the wine out, and then neither of us actually drank it. We had other drinks instead. So, let's see. Just Bob says, no issues on Windows 11 for me so far. That's good. So, Mike from Peace Valley Audio, who is here. Welcome, my friend. You and I have been talking offline as well, which is cool. He says, I'm losing my laptop because of Microsoft stopping support for Windows 10. Not too happy about that. Yeah, I kind of understand. However, Windows 10 has been around for an awfully long time. I got this computer in 2020 when I think Windows 7 support had come to an end. And I needed a new computer because Studio One was not going to support Windows 7 anymore. And because I'm a beta tester, I'm also an employee. I needed a new computer that was going to support the next builds of Studio One. So I bought a new computer, a Windows 10 computer. Because the computer I had before that was not going to work on Windows 10. So I just had to buy a new machine. It was a pain in the butt, and yes, a little expensive. But there is a company here in the UK called Scan Computers UK who make pro audio computers, and they have a really good finance deal. And it has cost me, I think, £30 a month for like 4 or 5 years. It's paid off now, and the computer still works. Please keep working, computer. I love you. And when I go up to Windows 11 on it, hopefully it will continue to keep working. Windows have said, because I've checked, using their checker system, and it says, yes, your computer does support Windows 11. So I'm going to just go for it, and hopefully it works. Otherwise, I'm going to be without a computer. At least temporarily, until I have to buy, that might force me into buying a new computer for Windows 11, which will be a pain in the arse. I don't want to have to do that, but if I have to, I have to. It is just the way it is. If I have to do it, I have to do it. It'll be a pain because it would mean I'd have to set up OBS from scratch, and including all of these nice, pretty pictures that you see around me and everything else. That would be a pain in the butt to have to do. But if I have to do it, I have to do it. I will get some assistance. I will get somebody to help me do it, to make sure I do it right. Mike says the processor in the laptop is too old. Everything else is fine besides the processor. Well, you might be able to take the laptop to somewhere where they can just replace the processor, give you something that will support Windows 11. But you got to make sure that everything else on the computer will support Windows 11, because it's not just about the processor. It's about everything else that integrates with the processor that you got to be careful of. Because if you just go, oh well, I just need to swap out the processor so I can go up to Windows 11, you do that, you go up to Windows 11, and then other things don't work properly. So those are things to think about. Mike says, I bought a desktop PC from PC Audio Labs in 2020 and just updated to Windows 11 a couple of months ago. Okay, so, all right, so your main PC is fine. Okay, good. Okay, good. That's good, Mike, that your main desktop PC is going to be fine. It's just your laptop that's too old. I have a couple of laptops, actually, and both of them are on Windows 11. But they don't belong to me. They belong to the company. So I'm not responsible for upgrading those at all. The IT department remote in and do all of that. And I just let them do it. But they won't do that for my personal computer because that's mine. So it is what it is. All right. Let's see. What else do we have here? Bobby Booth says, you're lucky. I have to buy a new computer. My system will not take Windows 11. Yeah. I think I bought this kind of at late enough in 2020 that the newer processors were being just installed automatically into these particular computers, which meant that they would be fine for Windows 11. But yeah, if I have to, if it doesn't really work out and I have to buy a new computer, I have to buy a new computer. I will just contact Scan Computers and say, hey, you know, I've been using your computers now for pretty much 10 years. Let's do a deal. And I'm sure they will. Because they're good people. They are very, very good people. If you are in the UK, they are freaking awesome. They will really look after you. Mike says, a new computer would be cheaper. I looked into that. It'd be a new motherboard, processor, and a few other things. Yeah. Now, if you are the kind of person that knows how to build computers, like I know Rich Cresswell is, he is very, very good at that kind of thing. He would say, actually, often the best thing to do is just swap out components from your computer that aren't compatible with Windows 11 and then put new things in the computer so that they are compatible with Windows 11 and basically build yourself a new machine inside the case. Rich says, Windows release a new major OS 3 to 4 years apart. There we go. So it is like 4 years or so. All right, yeah. Well, I got this computer in 2020. And I think it might have even been January 2020. And it was a Windows 10 machine. So this would, I guess this would be like 5 or so years this time. Assuming you purchase a machine to last 5+ years, then buying one at the beginning of a new OS release would give you the 5 years and all the support. Yes, that would be right. That would be right. We have 29 people here, which is freaking awesome, but we've only got 13 likes, people. I would love it very, very much if we could get 29 likes as well as the 29 people that are actually here watching. If you are watching and you would like to ask a question and the chat isn't working for you, it's because it's in subscriber mode only. If you'd like to ask a question, hit the subscribe button down there. And whilst you're at it, hit the notification bell and select all notifications because 2025 is going to be the year of a whole bunch more content other than just 2 live streams per week. There's a bunch of new videos that I have already started shooting, and some of them are actually in the editing process as well. And they are going to be released fairly soon, actually. I'm not going to tell you when, and I'm not going to give anything away either, but I'm just going to say that those new videos are definitely coming very soon. So make sure you're subscribed. That way you get notifications, and when you get notifications, then the videos are just there for you and you can click on them straight away and you can be the first person to watch, and that would be awesome. So now we got 21 likes. Keep going, folks. Keep going. Keep clicking that like button. If you like what I'm talking about and you like my Scottish accent, then yes, hit that like button. It helps me a lot. Keith says, next version Windows Gen Z, it only shows you stuff that makes you happy. Oh my God. Yeah, the kids will love that. Yeah, Windows for over 18s only. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, is there going to be a Windows 12? Funny thing is, they said there was not going to be a Windows 11. They said that that's it. Windows 10 is the final version of Windows, and we would just continually just be updating it ad infinitum forever. Which actually, for a lot of people that are on Windows 10 machines, would have been a good thing because they could have just kept on going with that same machine until that machine died and fell apart. And then they decided to come out with Windows 11. So the question now is that it? Or is there going to be a Windows 12? Who knows? That is a question that I am quite interested in, to be honest. Because there's a lot of people that have said since Windows 11 launched, they said, Windows 11 basically is just some cosmetic improvements to Windows 10, but essentially it is still Windows 10 under the hood. There's just like a few extra things on top of it that make it Windows 11. I don't know whether that is the case. Rich Cresswell says there will be a 12. Bobby Booth says, I've been seeing here on Facebook about Windows 12 beta. Okay, that's interesting. There we go. So a little bit more confirmation that there will be a 12. I'm guessing if I do upgrade this computer to 11, when Windows 12 is released, I don't think it will work on Windows 12. I would, at that point, probably have to buy a new machine, if that's the case. But I guess we'll cross that wee bridge when we come to it. We'll have to see. Probably Q4 2025. Really? That soon? Good grief. That's interesting. So I wonder what they'll do for folks that are on Windows 10 just now. Will they kind of force upgrade them to Windows 11? Or would they basically say, serve them up Windows 12 if the computer is compatible with it and not allow you to go up to Windows 11? Interesting. I'm not really sure how that's going to work in that case. Yeah, that would be an interesting question as to whether they will basically no longer serve up Windows 11 for free. Because I rather suspect that this machine would not be able to work on Windows 12. Dwayne says, I think with AI on the move, we will need to buy brain implants, no more laptops or desktops. Maybe. That's an interesting proposition. Because then that would mean that I'd be able to go to sleep at night, and all of that music that basically, I think I've explained this before. My head is basically a 24-hour, 7 days a week, 365 days, the 0.25 days of the year. It's just like a constant jazz club. But the thing is, it's not just playing music that I know, like music by Miles Davis, Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, and Michael Brecker, and the Brecker Brothers, and all of that stuff, and Weather Report. It doesn't just play stuff like that I know. My brain starts writing music, especially when it's bedtime. And I go to bed, and I close my eyes, and I'm starting to relax. I'm starting to head off into dreamland, and my brain goes, right, let's start writing some new tunes. So, with AI and the potential for what Dwayne is talking about, maybe I could just stick the implants, plug my computer basically into my brain and then just let it start up Studio One and start recording all of that music. That could be quite cool. Okay, Lloyd says, Windows 10 was released in 2015, Windows 11 in 2021, so late 25 or early 26 is right on target. Rich then says they do major updates second half of the year now, and Q4 would be the likely period to release. It will be 12, and there are some mentions of subscriptions. Ew. That being said, this may be for additional functionality. I think that's probably correct. That would make sense, rather than everybody having to subscribe to Windows. That would be terrible. Because pretty much at the moment, you buy a computer and it comes with Windows, because it's OEM. Mike says, this computer I bought back in 2020 cost me more than I ever intended to spend. I may not buy another, which would be the end of my home studio. Well, you've just upped it to Windows 11 from what you've just said, so I think you'll be fine. Most likely the subscription would be for ad-free options, 365 and stuff like that. Okay, all right, that makes sense. Yeah, it would deliver up. It would deliver up a subscription to 365. That would make sense. But the idea of ads just popping up whilst you're doing anything on your computer, that's a bit shit, shall we say? Microsoft, if you're listening, the word shit was directed at you, if that is true. But I mean, it might not be true, in which case I retract. So I'm keeping my options open here. Rich says, however, if there were subscriptions, this could indicate lower overall costs for the hardware from Microsoft perspective to encourage subs. Interesting. which could mean that computers overall might become cheaper. Interesting. We are drifting a wee bit away from Studio One, but this is, of course, a related topic. Bobby Booth says, I got an email that they will cover maintenance for $30 a year. Oh, interesting. Interesting. I did get an email from Microsoft basically saying, hey, Windows 10 is coming to an end. You need to think about upgrading. Oh, that's for Windows 10. That's interesting. Yes. Okay, that's interesting. They will cover maintenance for $30 per year for Windows 10. So I guess that maybe is for organizations or people that absolutely do need to stay on Windows 10. Well, that might be like healthcare organizations and educational organizations and establishments, because I know a lot of schools, colleges, and hospitals are on much older versions of Windows, and Microsoft actually supports those for those organizations. Tony says, my mini PC with 16 gigs of RAM cost me €280 and is working with Studio One 6. Okay, that's good. That's good. I don't an N97 2 gigahertz. Okay. Yeah, your CPU is a little bit on the slow side, 2 gigahertz, but that's great that it works. Windows 11. Mike says, I got that same email, that's why I updated. Yeah, I've just not done the update yet. But I have been told that by doing it via Windows Update, which is what I'm talking about doing, it only takes a couple of hours. So I may well just do it on a weekend. And then from what I've been told, it works pretty much exactly like just doing a regular Windows, installing a regular Windows update. Your computer restarts, you sign back into your computer, and everything is as normal, and all of your applications are there, all of your passwords are already there, and everything else. You might just have to sign back into your Microsoft account and Google and stuff like that. But everything should be there. That's what I can gather. But like I said, I didn't actually upgrade from Windows 7 to Windows 10. I bought a new computer. So I have never actually done an OS upgrade before. So this is going to be completely new. And there is a degree to which there is a little bit of trepidation about doing this, because like I said, I've never done it before. I don't know what applications are going to be affected, or what I'm going to have to sign into afresh. Will it keep my passwords? Won't it keep my passwords in my password manager in Google and Microsoft Edge, Microsoft and all of that shit? So, yeah, those are unknown things for me, because I've not been through that process before. But hopefully, if you are one of those people that has been through that process and you've done it through Windows Update, please do drop me an email. Go to jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk, click on Contact Us, fill out the contact form, and just let me know how it went for you and what I should expect. That would help me a lot. That's for sure. Mike says, that is what I did, the upgrade path. Everything works fine. Good. That's good to know. So yeah, if somebody could answer some of those questions that I have there about, what gets stored, what doesn't. Rich says, super easy, nothing will change. You may have some new options to choose from, not much else. Okay. Yeah, that's great to know. That's great to know. I think probably the things I'm most anxious about is kind of password management and that kind of thing, so that I don't have to sign into anything all over again. Mostly because some of my passwords are a little bit super ancient, and yeah. So I'm hoping that everything will be straightforward and easy, like Rich says. All right, so we have 6 minutes left. We got 25 people here. We got 23 likes. Come on, 2 more likes. 2 more likes. Just 2 more. 2 more people that have not clicked on the like button, and I will take that. Lloyd says, I've done both with fresh installation and online upgrade without issue. Edgar says, I have to purchase Windows 11 for my new build. Interesting. Any saving suggestions? Microsoft wants 200. Interesting. Rich says, nope. I'm not quite sure what that is nope to, Rich. Does your Gmail account still work? My Gmail account currently works. I hope it does work. If I lose access to that, I am buggered. Because if my Gmail account does not work, I will not be able to use my YouTube channel. Which means this show will stop. As will everything else. So if I'm not able to access my Google account, that'll be the end of everything. Videos, YouTube, Sunday Night Lives, Songwriting Simplified, the works. It will all go. Because I won't be able to access my channel anymore. Why would you lose access to Gmail by upgrading OS? Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised. I would be surprised if it does that. I doubt it very much. I would think it would just be a case of signing back in again with email address and password. That's what I would think would be the case. Rich says, buy a key from a reputable source. No point in paying £200. Yeah, $200. Yeah, absolutely. I would think $200 is a bit, Pointless worrying, you'll be fine. Thank you, Rich. I appreciate the confidence. Thanks a lot. And you're right, it is pointless worrying about it. And just cross bridges as they come. You're right. You're absolutely right. And I'm sure it will be fine. I'm sure it will just be a case of I restart the computer, I sign back into Microsoft, boom, everything is there. Because every time I've done a Windows update, that's exactly how it's been. You know, any Windows update, the computer restarts, I just put the pin in to unlock the computer and everything is as it was before I did the update. So I'm hoping it will be just like that. And if it is, great. All right, so we got 3 minutes left. Anyone else got any other Studio One questions? I'll take one more question. If there is one. If there isn't, we'll just end the show here. Kyle says, watched on my TV as I stuffed my face. Yes, you have had a pizza delivery, which is very, very cool. I've not had pizza for almost a week, which is most unusual for me. I usually have pizza at least once per week because I like pizza. Pizza's awesome. I don't get it from deliveries though. I don't get pizza from places like Pizza Hut. We used to get pizza from Pizza Hut a lot. But yeah, I don't really do that anymore. Mostly because I'm actually trying to lose some weight, and going to Pizza Hut a lot or going to McDonald's or Burger King a lot is not a great help to losing weight. So yeah, I kind of won't be doing that quite so much. But I do buy from the supermarket, and there's actually some really good pizzas that we get from the local supermarket that are really, really good. I like pepperoni pizza. I also like Meat Feast. Those are probably my favorites. Anyone that puts pineapple on pizzas is a very bad person. I don't see the logic of pineapple on pizzas at all. If it's something you like, all power to you. And I hope you enjoy it. But to me, it's just something that just does not make any sense. At all. So, yeah. Anyway, we are at the end of the show. Keith says pepperoni, hot peppers, and onion here. That's your favorite. Yeah, I like the pepperoni too, just without the peppers and onion, but everything else is all good. On that. Keith says, had some hangover pizza on Thursday. Yes, you definitely drunk quite a lot, as I recall. Anyway, we are done for the first Sunday buttons. Let me start that sentence again. We are all done and dusted for And this first episode back after a little hiatus of Studio One Soundsets. I can't speak anymore. Sunday Night Live. That's what I'm trying to say. It is 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm probably beyond tired, to be honest. But thank you very much, everybody, for your questions, and thanks for the reassurances about updating to Windows 11. I appreciate that. That's very cool. Thanks a lot, everybody. If you have a question that has a bit more detail to it for next week's show, drop me an email, just like Bob did, and we will start the show with those questions first. So you don't have to do it in the chat all the time. We can just, you can just, because you only get a certain amount of characters in the chat. And if you know that your question is going to have more detail than that, then please do drop me an email. Kyle says 2 more Wednesdays until the 100th Songwriting Simplified on this channel. That's the 100th Songwriting Simplified on this channel, not the 100th Songwriting Simplified overall. We're probably past 300 shows if you add all the shows that Jonny, Guy, and I did together, and this one that I do now solo on its own. Yes, that would probably be over 300 shows. But the fact that we're coming up on 100 shows is awesome. Kyle, please remind me when we're about to get to the 100th show, because it would be nice if we could kind of celebrate that in some way. I don't quite know how, but yeah, it'd be quite cool to celebrate 100 shows for sure. And I know we're coming close to 500, I think. We're not far away from 500 Sunday Night Lives. We must be on about 470 something. So we're not far away. So another, few months, and then we'll be at 500 shows for Sunday Night Live. And there will be a celebration for that for sure, because 500 shows is a lot of shows. So anyways, on that note, folks, I will see you all on Wednesday for Songwriting Simplified for the 98th show. Join me then if you've got songwriting questions or questions about composing, arranging, writing for strings, writing for orchestra, horn section, or if you've got questions about music theory, because that's what that show is all about. And I will see you then. Same place, same channel, same time, 6 p.m. Central Time. Be there or be a dodecahedron. All right. Good night, everybody.